Okay, we're recording. Hi, Adam.
Hey.
How's it going?
Pretty well, thanks.
Thanks.
Good to see you.
Yeah, Adam and I are familiar with one another, though I don't think you've been on these calls before, Adam. Is that right?
No, first time. Just catching up, listening in for now.
Yeah, great. Right. Let's see. So here's a Slido link. I'll see whether we're enough people that it's worth it. The call, first monthly call, I think we were about 30 or 40 people. So then it was quite useful to kind of manage questions and see what people were most excited to speak about. But it might be that we're a smaller enough a number this time that we can do without it. Let's give it a couple more minutes to see who arrives. And yeah, I don't know whether he posted, but Kevin won't be able to join us this time, so he asked me to share things. Just going to post on the Telegram thread. Hi, Matthew.
Hi, guys. Stephen, I didn't know you set up the Psychedelic Society.
I did. You've been to some of their events?
I went to a cinema viewing of, it's to do with consciousness in London, maybe about a year ago or in the summer. But it's really, really good.
Nice, good. Yeah, I don't work directly on it anymore, but a very talented team organizing lots of events still, which is good news. Welcome, Andrea. You've been traveling, right?
Yeah, I'm in Venezuela right now, actually.
Okay.
Just in front of the beach. It's really beautiful here.
Nice. Okay, well, welcome everybody. We're a couple of minutes past the hour now. I don't think he posted, but Kevin can't make the call today, so Kevin asked me to share it. And I guess I should check that that's okay with everybody here. Is there anyone else feel a real passion to share today? Okay, I'm going to take that silence as consent for the time being then. But if in the future that you are someone that enjoys sharing, then yeah, please post in the Telegram group and we can work something out. So I posted in chat a Slido link where people can suggest and then upvote topics for the agenda. I'm just going to add something which is the Metacrisis QF funding round I'd love to speak about. Someone already posted, setting the clear and concise goal of meeting everyone's needs is a North Star of our activity. A reference by which we can measure progress. Yes?
Stephen, I think for those who came a little bit later, we can't see in the chat the link. So do you mind posting it again?
Yeah, of course. Thanks for that. So yeah, is the person that submitted the setting the clear and concise goal points on the call? No. Okay. Well, let's just read it one more time. The clear and concise goal of meeting everyone's needs as a North Star of our activity, a reference by which we can measure our progress. So meeting everyone's needs seems to be the key phrase there. I mean, I guess the Slido is an attempt to do that by allowing people to say what they do need from the meeting. But maybe just holding space for a second to see if anyone would like to express any needs that they have around this meeting that maybe can't be expressed in the Slido somehow. No? Okay. Well, I guess we'll use the Slido in case you have things that you want to suggest now or at any point during the call that come up. Do my best to keep an eye on that. Oh, okay. We're getting some stuff here. So summarize where we are today. If those of us haven't been able to keep up to date recently, what's been happening in the content group. Okay, great. So I think a useful visual guide to summarizing what's been happening might actually be the document on QF that I prepared. So let me share that. Okay. MetacrisisDAO QF and again.
I dropped a link for the talk if you're ready.
Oh, great, thanks. So, yeah, this. So I'll just use it as a prompt just to explain kind of the history so far, and then we can actually talk about the document itself later. But so between July 2022 and January 2023, Daniel Schmachtenberger and Kevin had 3 conversations on the Green Pill podcast. And then at the end of the 3rd conversation, Daniel made a number of different suggestions, which we might concisely summarize by this idea of red teaming and green teaming. So how could Web3 tech actually make the various aspects of the meta crisis worse? And green teaming, how could Web3 tech ameliorate or make better various aspects of the meta crisis? And inspired by those questions, Kevin created the forum at MetacrisisDAO.com, and there's been quite a lot of activity on that forum. So if you haven't already checked it out, then please do. Maybe some people have just discovered the Telegram group, but there's a very active forum. And there's a whole bunch of juicy discussions. Some of the more kind of concrete work that's come out of it is this Obsidian-powered wiki at wiki.metacrisisdao.com, which is generated based on transcripts mostly of Daniel Schmachtenberger's YouTube appearances. There's this Web3 and the Meta Crisis GPT sheet, where GPT was used to do a kind of quick first pass of that red teaming, green teaming thing, asking GPT, well, GPT, how do you think, quadratic funding could help solve the issue of perverse incentives and so on and so on. And then since then, or from that, like a content kind of working group formed, and we've met twice now. The first was just to kind of review that GPT sheet and to invite people to pick up various topics or various aspects of that work. And then we met once more where we presented what we had been up to in the previous week. So I presented something on bioterrorism, tabletop DNA printers and uncensorable blockchains. Andrea presented something on systems mapping to identify and visualize the potential benefits and externalities embedded in blockchain technologies. So there's a thread here, this links from the call on the 2nd of March, which was the kind of content working group, where you can read something about what I presented on that call and what Andrea presented. A couple more people did present, and we're still waiting for them to put updates in this thread. If you're on the call and you did present something on the 2nd of March, I really encourage you to leave a note in here so everyone can get an idea of what we've been discussing. Oops. Okay, so yeah, that I hope that was a useful way of getting people up to speed. But any comments or questions and extra things to add as we get everyone up to speed here? No. So the people that, or the person that suggested that question on Slido, are you feeling satisfied that you've got some idea about what's going on now?
Yeah, that was me. I'm just thinking. It sounds like kind of clarifying the situation and expanding on some of Daniel's initial prompts. I guess I think the question was asking about really that what were people focusing on, and whether there was any kind of structure emerging for how we were going to work together. But I think I think it covered it. Thanks.
Okay, great. So I'm taking a look at the Slido again, and so it's a question around governance structure. But the most up-to-date one is the QF question. Sorry, just saw that at the top. So maybe I will go back to that document then, since we already started looking at it, and just kind of like complete the tour of that. There's not a lot more to say. I won't take up too much more of your time. But some time ago, Kevin posted on the forum proposing quarterly 50K quadratic funding rounds for MetacrisisDAO, or Metacrisis work, I think is really what he was getting at. And so I decided to kind of like pick up that idea and fill it out a bit, and in the hope that other people might join Kevin or Super Modular in putting up some money to do Metacrisis quadratic funding rounds based on Gitcoin's new grants stack. So I imagine plenty of people here are already familiar with Gitcoin grants, but they usually have different topics. So for example, there's for several rounds now, which the rounds happen, I think every 3 months, is it? There's been a climate solutions round, or climate solutions topic. And a variety of organizations contributed a total of £460,000 matching funds. Just gonna admit someone's the call. And so yeah, I mean, if a climate solutions round can get 460K in matching funds, like why not a Metacrisis round? And it sounds like we've got the kind offer of 50K from Super Modular to get us going. So this document is kind of targeted at potential sponsors, called Seeking Co-Sponsors of a Metacrisis QF round. So if you know individuals or organizations that you think might be keen to co-sponsor a Metacrisis quadratic funding round, feel free to send it to them, or like copy it and remix it and do what you want, just so that we can actually find a few more sponsors and increase the pot size. And I presume that then Super Modular would coordinate with Gitcoin to actually on the technicalities of actually making it happen. And just to say, like, my understanding of what Kevin had in mind is that it wouldn't be exclusively related to Metacrisis DAO. It would be for anyone that had a project relating to the Metacrisis could make a proposal in the Gitcoin grants round and potentially have that match funded from this pot of money. That's partly because like MetacrisisDAO, despite the name, and I know that Kevin said he slightly regrets calling it DAO, MetacrisisDAO, like MetacrisisDAO is just like a forum and a wiki at this point, as someone put on Slido, that like there is no governance structure. Like, I mean, yeah, in principle there could be, but let's be real, at the moment it's not a DAO, it's a forum. So it's not set up to kind of receive funds. So at this point, what I imagine would be like various kind of smaller groups, like work from that met on the forum, that would come together and submit proposals for match funding on as part of a QF round, and at this point I'm not sure that there would be like a MetacrisisDAO like proposal in that or to that round. Maybe if we get our act together and we do decide some kind of structure and so on, then potentially MetacrisisDAO could be one of the people putting a pitch or a proposal into that QF round. But that's slightly unclear to me at the moment. I think it's almost certain that like smaller groups of people that have met here would want to pitch. Matthew, yeah.
Do we think there's going to be restrictions on, there actually being a mandated, I guess, Web3 idea? So if you met someone on the forum and then you came up with an idea that's related to addressing the meta crisis, but it might not, especially in the near term, include Web3?
Well, the beauty of quadratic funding is it's whatever people donate towards. So
Cool.
yeah, if you think people are going to donate towards it, then it's worth putting up, I guess, and then you would benefit from that much funding. I think maybe the Gitcoin grant stack, like there is some, you do have to get a grant approved. I don't actually know the details of that process. So then there might be some kind of like whitelisting just to check that it is vaguely on topic. I don't know the details of that, so we'd have to ask Gitcoin or Supermodular about how they anticipate that working. Andrea, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I was wondering if you had any idea about what the timing of this would be. It was one question. And then I was also thinking about, in terms of co-sponsors, if you or anyone has like any idea what kind of organization might be interested in this, just to kind of help with thinking about, who else might be interested.
Yeah, good question. Time, I actually don't know when the next. I think Gitcoin does its rounds, runs a number of topics alongside one another. I think every 3 months, but someone here might know better than me about how often that is or when the next round occurs. But let's say optimistically, sometime in the next 3 months, this round would run. In terms of sponsors, some of the organizations that sponsored the last Gitcoin climate solutions round. One of them was Celo, for example, which is a layer 1 blockchain that kind of is trying to present itself. There we go. Next round, April the 25th. Perfect. Thanks for that. So the climate solution sponsors were a variety of organizations, including other layer 1s that wanted to show that they care about this topic. So I imagine that some of the organizations that sponsored the climate solutions round might well be interested in sponsoring the meta crisis round as well. Obviously, those two things are quite closely connected. Jenga.
Sorry, I was muted. So there are two options here. One is to use the grant stack where anyone can spin up a matching round whenever they want. And then the option 2 is to use this same platform, but in the formal round, which is happening in April. The difference in both cases is whether or not we want to do this with the ecosystem, in which case there is a lot of noise and competition for funds, versus internally, where if we have already secured funds, then we can run it whenever we want, and even add more to the pot over time, and that will be reserved exclusively for this group. So there are both ways to do this, but I do suggest we run our own round to avoid being drowned in the noise.
Okay, I see. Thank you for clarifying that. So I guess it would mainly be up to the people actually donating the money about when they prefer to run this. So we have the option of being in sync with the main round starting April the 25th, or doing it another time, as far as I understand now. Then cool. Great. Okay. Well, if there's nothing more to say on that topic, then again, feel free to start having conversations with anyone that you think might be interested in sponsoring this. Maybe I'll include a list of sponsors of the last climate solutions round, just so we get an idea of the kinds of organizations that do sponsor this kind of thing. Let's take a look at the Slido. Okay. The next topic is, what's the current vision for MetacrisisDAO governance structure? Is there something like a core team who is controlling the treasury, etc.? Well, firstly, I'm pretty certain there's not a treasury, as I said. Like I think it's just a forum and a wiki at this point. But yeah, any thoughts on MetacrisisDAO governance structure and core team and so on?
Jeremy, was that a no thoughts or no governance structure?
Yes.
Yeah. I guess I'll raise my hand and be here.
Yeah.
I guess I was kind of in the next. I kind of want to see. I don't have a real good idea who's here, what everyone's sharpest tool is, what you want, why are each of us here. So, and I think that just for me, that was one thing I thought that might be an interesting or valuable thing to do, since we are all here live sharing time at this point, to actually figure some of that out. And if someone wants to speak their passion to the room, like, why am I here? What I care about in terms of Metacrisis, I care about this particular subsection of your grid, Stephen, like that you had done. And I have a project in mind that I would like to gather people for, and you know, that would become an impact DAO, you know. So and so that would be an invitation to either go like one-on-ones and do that individually, or if anyone currently wants to speak into the virtual circle here, and their passion, I'd be up for either of those things.
Great. Jeremy, did you give a thumbs up to that? Did I see? Can you have any further ideas on that topic?
Yeah, I generally support the smaller group interaction. Also because that'll increase the surface area of participation. Like right now, we're kind of trapped in the one person talks, everybody else listens dynamic. And we can mix that up if we can get into some breakout sessions.
Okay, sure thing. And there's another hand first. Yeah, Lance?
Because this call is recorded and because this is the first month of operations, I think that everyone in this call should have 1 minute to do a quick elevator pitch about like what are their talents, why they are here, what they want to share, because in that way, this will, you know, spread the tentacles, and then we can organize in smaller groups.
Yeah, what do people make of that? Looking at Ryan and Jeremy in particular, there's a thumbs up from Kyle. So we've got, yeah, we have an hour. It sounds like we've got most of the kind of like we've given some grounding, some foundations to everyone in terms of the documents already shared. So yeah, why don't we do that? Why don't we do 1 minute each of everyone that wants to share, saying why you're here, what you're passionate about, and maybe that will lead to some breakout sessions. So just to keep this ticking on, I might just call people out as I see them on my screen. It might be different for other people's screens, but Matthew Walker, do you want to just give us a minute of why you're here and what you might be interested to speak about?
Sure. I've come from the corporate area, IT services. I'm not hugely technical, although I think in systems. I'm passionate about connecting people and building trust, which is what brought me towards blockchain. Although at the moment I'm looking at what we can do with Web 2 tools to build trust. So an example of what I'm working on at the moment is working on an idea for regenerative farmers to document really high quality videos of their process and how they go about doing their stuff, to post onto Instagram, create a QR code for it, attach it to their products, and create transparency and build trust using the kind of Web 2 tool set where you don't need the maximized trust element of blockchain.
Okay. Thank you very much. Jenga?
Hey everyone, I have been working in DAOs since summer 21. I'm involved in governance mostly as a professional delegate in a few DAOs. Yeah, I was green-pilled a long time ago into this space, and I was pretty glad when Kevin dropped the idea of a DAO because, well, there may be many problems in how DAOs work, but this seems to me at least be like to have the freedom and structures where people can experiment and actually solve if there was ever a possibility to solve something like this. Thank you.
Thanks. Ryan?
I'm here as a noob, only having been green pilled when Daniel's episode about the MetacrisisDAO came out. So I am in fire hose receiving mode. I'm a 20-year or so veteran out of corporate IT, making a switch to independent consulting, and a desire to survive and thrive in independent consulting, hopefully through a Web3 enabled DAO structure and one or many portfolio kind of things. And I'm really passionate about opening space for people to come together in digital form and create beautiful music in their humanity. So
Thank you, Ryan. Kyle?
Hi, I guess I'm here mostly, Green Pill podcast. I think some of the stuff that Daniel had explained about Metacrisis really aligned with what I was aligned with. I in the past I got involved in politics as a source for change, and sort of kind of hit a dead end there, feeling like the structure and elitism in politics isn't very conducive to rapid change that we need to solve the meta crisis. And since the pandemic, I got a little addiction to cryptocurrency and kind of dove in deep there. And I got really excited about DAOs as an alternative way to organize people. And, from a democratic perspective. Currently, I've kind of worked on a couple of projects, and currently I'm working on a DAO project that's focused on consciousness, and that's where I think a lot of I feel like that's the new frontier of and where we can solve a lot of this meta crisis stuff is having a better understanding of what consciousness is, and if people had a deep understanding of the interconnectedness of everything, then and easier said than done. But I think that would lead us to a solution. So I'll pause there and let someone else speak.
Yeah, thank you. Adam Pluck.
Hey, so I guess I've been pretty deep in the Web3 space for the last kind of 3 years or so, working for Argent, which is a kind of non-custodial, easy-to-use wallet. I guess I'm on the call to maybe find out where I can fit in. So I'm currently kind of working in growth, so a mixture of marketing and tech, but mostly less technical. Really care about decentralization, making sure that the world is kind of fair and everyone can be authentic, like making sure that everyone has equal access to finance. And just touching on your point, Kyle, I feel like consciousness is also a really big kind of fundamental force that we should be thinking about that can help many more kind of problems that we're seeing. So, and also just touching on DAOs, so I feel like there's whole new ways of kind of organizing the world and kind of changing politics and restructuring things. So there's so many things that I'm kind of interested in. I'm just now figuring out where I fit best in this kind of problem sphere, I guess.
Thank you, Adam. M, or I know you to be Mars.
Hi, hello. I am here simply because I really enjoy the content of Daniel Schmachtenberger. I've listened to quite a lot of his podcasts. This is such a, like, I feel like my brain, when I listen to this, it makes intuitive sense. I feel like my brain is like activated. I am involved in a couple of projects. I will share the links in the description in a second. However, one of the message I would like to deliver is there is always a new hope. I was actually thinking that the climate change is beyond control, feedback loops, tipping points. We are going to Venus and other catastrophic collapse. But then Extinction Rebellion happened, which is the decentralized movement worldwide. That gave me hope. Then the COVID happened, that gave me hope. Then the Twitter happened and Elon Musk that changes the incentives behind profit. So right now, even though I understand that the situation is really fucked up big time, I have this deep belief that there is always a new hope coming. And even when the situation gets worse, there will be more pressure for a radical action. So right now, my default mode is there will be always new hope. And I know that one way or another, humanity is capable of finding a way. And that is the short intro about me. I'm actually sharing the links to my projects in the chat. Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Thanks. Jeremy. Well, you're muted, Jeremy.
I know. I'm setting a timer. It's for your protection. So my name's Jeremy. I roll with Regens Unite. We are adjacent Web3. If you guys watched the episode with Gregory Landua, the Regen Punk is definitely the meme space that we fall into. So very adjacent, very friendly to Web3, but also super skeptical. And the only thing I think it's good for is raising funds right now, at least for the things that I care about, which are interaction game design. So how do we create more participatory structures and participatory processes that actually upskill people to communicate with one another? So I use a particular toolkit called Liberating Structures that I'm also obsessed with teaching people how to use. That I'll show the learning journey, a masterclass that I do on that. But I host lots of free spaces every week where you can come hang out and learn, practice, and become a wicked cool interaction game designer. Anybody else?
Great, thank you. Andrea.
I work in Web3. Right now, I work more kind of a world product strategist, so kind of in innovation. Companies conduct research and come up with product ideas primarily to kind of grow their bottom line. But so previously I had my own agency working with startups, doing kind of product discovery and research, talking to users and actually developing kind of their product concepts and all of that stuff. So I'm pretty new to the Web3 space, but I've been working in tech for a long time. And what I'm primarily interested in just trying to figure out how can we actually make tech that is going to help us do less harm and actually make the world better, because it seems like within the system in which we operate now, everything we do just has just ripples of harm. And so this is the journey that's brought me here. And right now I'm just kind of deep in learning mode, exploring, Web3 and AI and kind of social media tools, and to really understand deeply, how do they actually operate and how can we make them in a way where it's actually gonna help us make the change that we want to create in the world. So I don't know what that's going to look like yet, but that's the journey that I'm in right now.
Thank you very much. Let's see. What? Darren Zhao?
Yeah, hi, my name's Darren. I've been in the Web3 space for a couple years, working on projects like community currencies, refi education, and I have a project with basically financing stewardship for old growth forests. So I'm really into the refi kind of sub-ecosystem of Web3. I'm a software developer, I'm a researcher, I'm a curator, really into regenerative economics. I'm an ideas person, big picture thinker, into cosmolocalism, commoning, and really interested in collective intelligence and sense making and decision making. I'm also really interested in knowledge management, and I'm working on some knowledge management for the refi ecosystem, basically like mapping out the ecosystem, like the people in the projects. And so I'm really interested in mapping, and I'm also doing some mapping work with an organization called the Collaborative Technology Alliance, which is all about kind of creating collaboration between software platforms. And yeah, just really interested in kind of information flows and connecting information to the real world, and working with like digital twins. And yeah, so yeah, just really interested in kind of how we can create this like bottoms up emergent collective sense making and decision making for dealing with these like huge problems. It's really something that I care a lot about.
Brad, thank you. Ty?
Ty, Ty, yes.
Ty, yes.
So I'm first passionate by crypto. Since 2 years I fall in this bath, and now I can just, crypto is almost everything. And I quickly realized that I should try to connect cryptocurrency to indigenous people. And right now I'm working on a project to really have a deep connection and deeper communication about cryptocurrency and Web3 with indigenous people. And we're working with 15 ethnicities from Brazil. And they are really, really interested by understanding how crypto works and how this new mechanism of decentralization and new financial world can help them to be independent and helping them to be really self-determinate and sovereign over their own culture and traditions. So I'm right now working on how we can create Web3 indigenous institution that is out of any jurisdiction, so not related to any nation states, and how we can, from that point, create a movement that the indigenous jurisdiction can onboard the Web3 economy and a big part of the Web3 refi space out of nation states jurisdiction, out of the usual frame that we are used to do in the space. So yeah, I'm working on that right now, and the project is called Mycelia. And yeah, it's just the beginning, it's pretty early, but I really want to connect that to the MetacrisisDAO because I feel it's really connected.
Awesome, thank you. So I'm running out of people on my screen now, but let's see. Autumn, are you there?
Yep, I'm here. Hey guys. Yeah, I have background in product marketing. I got interested when I was interested in commons when I was writing my dissertation a couple of years ago, and I learned about Elinor Ostrom, and I was completely fascinated by this really alternative thinking and alternative economic paradigm. And I started reading a lot about platform co-ops and eventually DAOs. So I didn't know anything about crypto until a couple of years ago. And yeah, I realized that there's a lot of commonalities between cooperatives and DAOs, and I was really interested in that part of Web3 and especially governance. So I joined a tokenized community as contributor, started doing some governance stuff, eventually became governance lead, and now I'm focused on employee ownership. So the company that hired me initially for that community, it's a big company that wants to become employee owned. And I'm kind of trying to design the whole process, this transition to sometimes it's called exit to community. Yeah, and I learned about Daniel also 2 years ago, I think, thanks to Lex Friedman. I think that's one of my favorite podcasts with Lex, made by Lex. And yeah, then I started reading and listening to other like content with Daniel. I really like his line of thinking. I always wondered what he thinks about like commons, what he thinks about DAOs in particular, and then eventually, yeah, like last year he started answering those questions thanks to Kevin. Yeah, so I'm really excited to be able to contribute to this project.
Thank you very much, Atom.
Yeah.
Gillian. Are you there, Gillian Dykeman? Maybe not.
I am.
Yes.
I am here.
Great.
Yeah, sorry. I'm walking my dog. I don't know. Is the audio okay?
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, great. Hello. Everyone's just doing introductions of themselves and why they're here. Is that?
Why? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm here because I'm an artist who fell down the Web3 rabbit hole and just like the implications for the good that this technology can do for the world has blown my mind. And so I've been in this space like a year, and I want to find ways to put my skills to use for the meta crisis. So things I am capable of are like crafting storytelling and messaging and that kind of thing. So no tech skills myself, but I was super stoked to hear about Ty's involvement, an initiative with indigenous populations. And I guess like that my question about like operating outside of traditional states is like, I'm curious about like in Brazil, anyway, sorry, this is maybe off topic, but just in Canada, there's like this nation to nation relationship with treaties where indigenous populations supposedly have sovereignty, but they kind of don't. And so, yeah, I think projects like that could really push the boundaries of like existing structures, but interesting to hear about where you're going. Oh, I'm so sorry, I went way off topic, but anyway, that's happy like telling people stories and togetherness and like the aesthetics of this message. I think are really, really important. Thanks.
Thank you, Gillian. And Roger, I think you're the last person.
Oh, wow. The last shall be first, I guess. Yeah, my name is Roger Tonis. I live in Boulder, Colorado. I'm an electrical engineer with multiple degrees in that. Hardcore control systems theory, multivariable, multi-input, multi-output, statistics and probability. Worked at places like NASA and Lockheed and Bell Laboratories and stuff. Too many geeks. And through that time, this came up with the 25 years ago, the theme of technology in service of a better humanity instead of technology for its own sake. And too many geeks just get down rabbit holes in any technology they're interested in and think that is going to get them anywhere other than deeper into that hole. And so what I do these days is I advise deep tech startup CEOs on, how to take that technology and apply it into the real world. And so I kind of translate for them because I can still go deep on the tech or the math. Advising a couple of PhDs out of CU right now on a meta blockchain idea they call blockchain mesh, and all sorts of other startups that I coach and advise now. And the reason I'm here is because I see the multivariable, nonlinear time varying control system that is Earth and its ecology and our humanity and how those interrelate. And I want to put a control systems, emergent complexity control systems controller around all that growing instability. And to do that, we have to coordinate and get aligned. And that's why all of you and all of us are talking about governance all the time. So got some ideas on how to apply, all tech stacks that have, 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. Used to be at Gartner and advised lots of companies on how to use blockchain and then, 65 different ways you can use distributed ledger and to, create nonlinear, time-varying, stable systems. And that's what we have to get to. And that's what Daniel talks about all the time. I've probably read, watched over 100 hours of his stuff and recently connected with him, and I'm going to be talking with him soon. What I want to do is help orchestrate all of us into a collectively co-creative community and use the tools in service of an outcome as opposed to getting too excited about the tools. And that's what I help my startup CEOs figure out is you're not going to get your investors or your market excited about your tools unless you understand what gets them excited. So that's why I'm here.
Thank you, Roger. And I think someone just joined, Dion. Dion, if you want to say something, we're just saying why we're here and what interests us about this MetaCrisis topic, MetacrisisDAO. You want to have a couple of minutes or a minute?
Sure.
Go for it.
I'm just observing and I'm not sure what role I can play in this group other than learning and observing. I have I studied urban planning in school, so it's definitely relevant to the meta crisis. But right now, personally interested in ecological design, how our cities can integrate biology to create resilience, and so glad to be here.
Thank you very much. Has everyone spoken now? Have I missed anyone? I don't think so. Okay. So, given that it seems likely that there's going to be a quadratic funding round, I would suggest one frame from here for the remainder of this call and for maybe what happens in the forum over the next couple of weeks is kind of like matchmaking of can we find who knows, 2, 3, 4, 5 other people that are also passionate about a particular aspect of this problem, and then with the vision of then crafting a proposal that could be submitted to the quadratic funding rounds as that small group that could then be funded. So for the remainder of this call, I wonder, and this is inspired by what some people were suggesting earlier, potentially we could split into smaller groups. I wonder if there are if people might like to post topics and new Google Meet links in the chat thread, and then we can kind of split up into smaller groups for more meaningful discussion. How does that sound to people? Yeah. Okay. Cool. So in that case, I'm inviting you to, if there's a topic that you feel quite excited to. Oh, Jeremy, go ahead.
Only point is more procedural. It would be helpful if we had an additional doc to collect those links for those separate calls rather than just use the chat here, so that everybody has access to move back and forth.
Great. That's a great idea. I'll create a Google Doc now, and then maybe also people after you've spoken, you can write a few notes about what you spoke about and put in any links that people shared. So let's see, MetaCrisis, our small groups, 8th of March. At this Google Doc now. Oops. Okay. Here is a Google Doc in the chat. Please write the topic that you want to speak about and paste a Google Meet link, and it may very well be that other people will join you there. Okay, what am I going to speak about in this moment?
And Stephen, are you the host of the meeting?
I am.
I didn't know if that would also be an offer to just do general breakouts, but either way, I'm seeing folks typing all over this document, so we'll just chill out and watch. feel like there should be some kind of music, like Benny Hill music or something.
Okay. Okay, there we go. I've managed to put a topic and a Google Meet link down. Let's see. I'm gonna get some other Meet links in there. So we have continuing the idea of red teaming, green teaming according to Daniel's suggestions. We have let's build a system for permissionless measurement of design qualities, nihilistic versus axiological. ... And we have decentralized certification of growing standards such as organic and other processes that create positive externalities. So I'll leave this main room open as well. If people just aren't feeling inspired by any of those in particular and just want to keep chatting with whoever remains in this main room. But yeah, if one of those topics interests you, as soon as people paste a Meet link, feel free to jump across. There we go. There's a Meet link for the decentralized certification one now. Link that. And yeah, maybe and think about whether what would be required to actually craft this into a proposal for a quadratic funding round is the invitation. I wonder if I can. Just concerned if I leave the meeting, whether that's going to stop the recording and maybe cause problems in some way. Maybe I can make other people hosts on Google Meet. I'm not so familiar with this platform. Yeah. Is anyone feeling like they're just going to hang around in this room and see who else stays at this point? Can I get any thumbs ups for that?
I'll hang out.
Yeah, okay, great. Then I'm going to make you a co-host, and then hopefully that will mean that the call isn't disrupted in any way.
Got it.
Okay, nice. Well, I'm going to jump across to a room on red teaming, green teaming for the remaining 10 minutes or so. Yeah, great to see you, everybody, and see you in the Telegram group and on the forums and so on.
Thanks, Stephen.
I have to jump. So just great meeting you all and reconnecting, and looking forward to connecting more in the future. I put my contact info and calendar link for 30 minutes to get acquainted if you want to chat. So take care, everyone.
Good to see you, Roger.
Nice to meet you all. Look forward to it.
I have a quick request that it takes exactly 5 seconds to copy paste all the links from the chat, because I am on the mobile and I cannot easily do it. If someone is on a desktop, that would be very helpful.
I'm doing that right now, Mars.
I've just noticed one thing, like on my screen, I've noticed that I see only like gender imbalance. Like I mostly see guys who are left behind here. And yeah, it's just in general, in technology, in Web3, there is a gender imbalance. And I actually, oops, I'm sorry, I didn't notice, because on my screen, I actually see, yeah. And my point is that diversity is a competitive advantage. I do not like positive discrimination when, for example, if someone is from an underrepresented group, they have more opportunities and easier entrance criteria. I actually see a diversity that could be a competitive advantage because of the more more insights, more point of views that gives a better understanding of a target demographics. So this is just a tiny observation based on what I see on the screen.
Yeah, sorry, I'm almost done walking my dog. I'll be more present in a moment, but I'm just hanging out until I can stop walking my dog. Sorry. So how many people are left in this room? I can't actually see right
2,
now.
4, 6, 8. There's 10 of us total, looks like.
Oh, great. So what are we talking about?
Well, Mars just made a very astute observation that you, my friend, are outnumbered 9-1, it seems.
Yeah, it makes me deeply uncomfortable. I don't like it at all. What gives? I understand it's like, is this par for the course? What's going on here? But my perception is that, which could be incorrect, is that generally the industry is like male dominated. But yeah, I'm just, I don't like it. And I'm curious about whether the MetacrisisDAO specifically has a problem or if it's more of a just symptomatic of the overall industry.
Mars is raising his hand. Yes.
No. I'm actually. I would like to say that I am sorry for bringing this up. I'm sorry if this comment made you uncomfortable. It wasn't intentional. I actually.
No.
We are all equal here.
Yeah. Your comment doesn't make me uncomfortable at all. I'm saying the experience makes me uncomfortable, but I appreciate you bringing it up. Yay. So please don't misunderstand me.
And actually, I really see diversity as a competitive advantage, because if we had here people from Global South, people from Africa, people from China, we would have a more diverse point of views that would allow us to be more empathetic and better understand the problems firsthand. So I would just say this again, diversity as a competitive advantage. And yeah, I'm not going to be sorry for me being me. I truly appreciate my privilege, because this is a privilege to be able to listen to hundreds of hours of this, meta crisis content. It is a privilege to have a warm, stable home, fast internet, and enough hours in a day to actually contribute to this conversation. So I see myself, okay, I am here. So now my role is actually to live life to the fullest, mobilize the energy, and I leave the space for others to continue this joyful discussion.
Yeah.
Jeremy.
Yeah, so I'll jump in. There's two challenges. Number one is the entirety of the meta crisis frame is a dude-centric frame. It's all brainy stuff. It's all big words, really, really, really fucking big words. That I like technical language as much as the rest of you nerds, but for fuck's sake, thank you. That feels good to get out there. Oh yeah. Oh fuck all the big words. The frame itself is like a big brain frame that doesn't have a lot of feeling about what that world looks like or feels like, and what the possibility or solution space feels like as well. It's very sort of head on a stick, and that gets like dudes like me like really excited and makes me feel smart. Like I've got a big brain because I can follow big brains. So in terms of like, it's kind of par for the course in these settings, and we can organize our time, attention, and energy in ways that'll make it easier for more people to participate. Anybody else?
I think just for didn't see any more hands there. What is it? The design challenge again for a space like this is how do you show compassion and empathy? How do you create a space that is inviting and welcoming to folks who who you don't understand immediately, and whether that's culturally, whether that's across the gender spectrum or everything. So yes, we were drawn here because of a podcast or some ideas. What would draw folks who would bring completely different perspectives and heart-centered perspectives? I don't know. I want to know. I'm curious.
I mean, I have some ideas.
Please share. Drop them in there.
I already this is part of why I was all like guns blazing excited about a month ago, and then the space just felt like way too male, way too data oriented for me, and I'm like very much more excited about like action and like what can we do, because the biggest problem with the meta crisis is the trap of like cynicism and the malaise that can create. So meeting number one, I guess I talked too long, and I put forth the idea of having an animal, what was it? Not logo, but mascot, an animal mascot, and things like that. Just like make it more humane, like if there's like an animal that we can all kind of rally behind and be like, yeah, this animal, like, I don't know if everyone just like hated the animal, but like literally like crickets from this proposition. And I'd put a lot of thought into it. And, the animal is this Eomea. It's one of the very early mammal ancestors. And it's got this beautiful name. The name translates to Dawn Mother. And it's one of these very early mammalian species. It survived because they worked together. And that was the difference between mammals and, the dinosaurs. Was like mammals had the capacity to hold heat, but also to gather and weather really difficult storms. So yeah, I think an animal mascot could be a good thing. It looks like a rat, which I think is okay. I just that's one way of like warming things up a little bit, is being like, oh, like this cute furry animal, and like not like the aesthetics speak volumes, right? If the aesthetics are all tech, that can be really alienating, because this is such a human problem that's universal, and that there's like there's differing skill sets and so on. But I think I think the only way we're going to survive is together. So, and like managing to have cross-disciplinary conversations and so on. So that's my idea. Eomea, you're welcome. This is the second time I'm offering it. There won't be a third.
Well, there could be thank you for putting it there and bringing it back, and that's how do we invite the heart? And because I want it, and I
have the theory about being a lighthouse with a very bright light. And as long as we continue gathering in this space, and this space, MetacrisisDAO, was created 1 month ago. And for 1 month of existence, it's looking quite good. There is activity on the forum and on Telegram. There is already a communication platform, the Green Pill podcast. And when we combine these factors together, like we have the energy and momentum to keep going. And being this beacon of light, and as long as we just continue to exist, we will attract a variety of people, the variety of voices, and there will be a more diverse point of view, because I agree that right now we are mostly coming from engineering, scientific, crypto, and the Web3 spaces, and we need to invite people from more diverse point of views.
Sorry, guys. Unfortunately, I have to jump off soon. I just wanted to ask you, like, when do you want to discuss those ideas or proposals that you shared in the Google Doc?
Well, each of those were separate meetings, and I'm not sure that folks are in those. I don't know what the conversation is in them. So I would imagine that we could either share in the Telegram or in the forum as to what those are.
Yeah. Also, I added like a let us meet link. So like if anyone wants to discuss the second idea, you can add your availability using that link. I will be checking it, and yeah, we can coordinate it later. Thank you very much, everyone. I have to jump off.
Thank you, Artem.
Bye-bye.
Jillian, did you share the first of the Rogues Gallery of mascots in the forum, or is in Telegram a while back?
It was on the forum.
Okay.
I can find it. I'll go like reply to myself to bump it up.
I get, because I just thinking and feeling into this is there's a plurality of themes and options, and obviously there's a near infinite number of variables in the meta crisis. There may be many mascots and many living beings that would embody, what we would hope to be in the world beyond. So beyond.
Yeah, I mean, not everyone's going to get excited about a rodent, but
well,
there could be various rodents. Okay, but okay.
There was one, the buffacorn. Does anyone know about the buffacorn from the Sport DAO in East Denver? That since East Denver's happening in the land of the buffalo in Colorado, here in the U.S., and the Colorado Buffaloes being also a sports team and that a mascot from the University of Colorado, and buffaloes are very communal. We hear groups of buffaloes together, communing. Unicorns not so much, but we all know what a unicorn is in the tech world, right? Unicorns don't play well together. But what if there were bands of buffacorns, the combination between buffalo and unicorn, and the Spork DAO as a interesting organization too that supported East Denver, and I believe the buffacorn is one of the mythical mascots up there. So just one of many.
I agree that we need visual content to go along with all the heady content, mainly text, walls of text. So I like the idea of a mascot. I really enjoyed, I found a graphic about the meta crisis talking about the generator functions, the various symptoms. There's an article called MetaCrisis 101 that has that graphic in it. And so to pair all these discussions with a map of some kind, a visual map, would feel very helpful to me. I happen to be a person who just gets overloaded quickly, and that can be a curse and a blessing, is that I'm sensitive to poor communication or things that aren't laid out very clearly. So that's something that I can offer to the group of, listen, we have hundreds of forum posts at this point. No one can go through all that and make sense of it and synthesize what's happening. So those are my thoughts.
Just to quickly comment about the content creation and the long wall of text, the attention span of me and attention span of other people on the internet is short and limited, and the power of the memes, and I like the content that is easily digestible and shareable. And surely among us, when someone will listen to this recording, because I hope that the recording will be preserved. I actually do not know if the Google Hangouts is storing recording in the cloud or on the local device, but hopefully this recording will be preserved in a good shape, because this round of introduction, I'm pretty sure that this will inspire someone. Like we are like right now in this space in real time. However, someone else from the internet, from the podcast, will join the forum, will join the Telegram. They can click in. We can even slightly edit, and I can actually volunteer for this task, because it's not a problem. Just get the file, cut these pieces, maybe even put our short bio on the wiki, because ultimately I think that the small motivated groups, people who have some relationships and bond between them, I think that we can eat our own dog food in terms of self-organization. I actually remain optimistic, and I just want to also say that I had a call with Jeremy, who is on this call. We were just chatting roughly a week ago. We had a great banter. I know Stephen, who was the chair of this call. I know him from London many years. He's such a great activist and visionary. Sometimes when I click on the Twitter through Refi and Eve Denver, like I know so many people from so many different events, conferences, podcasts. Like we are still a relatively small community and people know each other. But yeah, this is just this beginning of the movement that is very powerful.
Can I ask you nerds for a favor? I guess I'm already asking you for a favor. So if you want to help out, this would be amazing. I'm working on this thing for these Nerds Regions Unite. We're just trying to onboard projects that are actually doing on the ground impact to Giveth and Gitcoin's grants ecosystem. And so I met with the first project that I like literally held their hand and helped them get a wallet and do all of the things and get set up on Giveth. And this is
Muted.
Some audio is not
I
working.
turned on this push to talk feature and it's turning out to be a nightmare. It makes it impossible to write text and talk at the same time. Anyway, I put on this that we put on this profile on Giveth for the Neurodiversity Foundation. I'm really excited about their project, but if you just would take a gander at that and let me know like what you want more of and what you think would you get curious about. Any amount of feedback would be super epic to help us improve the profile and ultimately tell the story in the world about the cool work that these nerds are doing. Thank you.
All right. I have no idea how to preserve the recording at this point. I'm not sure if it will happen automatically. I think since Jenka had the host, we shall see. I'm feeling like a closing is in order. Does anyone have passion they want to share or anything? Jillian?
Yeah, sure. Last thoughts. We're just like, yes, we need visuals. We also just need really strong storytelling, right? Like, sort of, what is a Metacrisis DAO? What is it doing? Who are we? What are the desires? And I think, you know, capturing those things, not just capturing the data, but what the data means. I kind of resonate a lot with whenever I hear Roger talking or writing. Sounds like he's got specialization in that process. Yeah, so for me, coming back to the mascot is part of the storytelling, or the beginning of the storytelling. And I just think that's something I can help with. I understand most of these things at a pretty good level in terms of like what they're for and so on. But yeah, I think that's maybe for me what's sort of missing, and kind of goes back to what Rijan was saying about like, where's the heart? And just like the heart, you know, that's the story that you tell. I've got a couple stories if you want. So
I'm here. I'm here to hear.
So,
a quick comment about the mascot, just very briefly. You mentioned about the mascot,
yeah.
And the Hydra. The Hydra with many heads seems like came to mind instantly, because there's many faces of the problem, many angles, and Hydra as an inspiration could be a good start. You can
Hydra could be a good start. Medusa comes to mind as well, just to like center like a very powerful female. Might be cool. Okay, so when I was in grad school, we had a guest come, and he had written this book called Boiling the Frog, and he was his job was basically lobbying various kinds of companies, but even especially oil companies and so on, to consider starting to buy into green technology. So rather than trying to say like shut down oil, he's like, no, invest in green technology. And you know, this is a number of years ago, but at the time, solar was now like cost competitive with fossil fuels. And he was in Calgary, which is an oil town in Alberta, Canada, and he was meeting with this oil exec, and he gave him the whole song and dance, like all of the information that he could possibly need to understand this would be a very good investment and a good move for his large oil company to start investing in green tech. And I'm pretty sure his name was Tom. So the oil tech, you know, sits back in his chair, crosses his arms. He's like, well, I'm an oil man. Sort of like puts up his hands. Like, I'm an oil man. And so it wasn't about the information. It was like this understanding of himself was like completely wrapped up in being a fossil fuel producer. And I think, you know, that's like, those are like, that guy's probably a lost cause, but like, I think we have to understand about the Metacrisis DAO, like the dominant narratives that we're encountering in like mainstream media and so on are about like, oh, it's basically too late. We just need to figure out a way to preserve capitalism. And that's not what people are saying. Like, media is controlled by corporations to a certain extent. You know, I think there's a lot of humans on the ground that care deeply, but they don't see themselves in the story of power, of like change. And so for me, what the Web3 tools have the promise of, it's like sort of like the promise of the early internet. There's this promise of connection, there's this promise of grassroots, and that's something I think that can reach people outside of like people who would support this kind of work, and see the utility in it, and to get them excited about it. I think we just need to be able to tell the story of like this as a grassroots potential technology. Like for me, I'm wild about the fact that like DAOs at their best can be worker-owned co-ops, you know. I think and the worker-owned co-ops are something that already exists, and like Opolis is making that work for them by being a registered co-op, for example. But there's no reason why that can't just sort of be the case more often, and you know, workers owning their own labor is incredibly radical, but it's also something that can be facilitated enormously. So anyway, so my story was about the oil man, but really what I want us to think about is like, how do we help people see themselves in this, and understand themselves to be potential beneficiaries of it, participants in it, and like, you know, I got here because of the Green Pill podcast. I think Kevin does a brilliant job of like, he's sort of like if you're Canadian, you know, Bob McDonald, he's like the Bob McDonald of Web3. Bob McDonald has a science show that's no longer on, but he would have like the nerdiest scientists on who'd come and be like, oh, you know, I can't even speak pretend nerd, but but you know, he would translate, you know, so the scientists would be talking about their research and they're passionate about it, but not articulate in a way that resonates with, you know, your regular sort of public radio listener. And Bob McDonald was really great at sort of saying, oh, so what you mean is this is for this and that's for that. And you know, that's what Kevin does really, really well. So
he has a good rhythm of keeping with that and the kind of bringing it back into the, you know, from the galaxy into the main. And because of where I come from, you're in the visual domain, in the visual storytelling. Yeah. So I'm in the musical domain.
Awesome.
So and that's where my background is. I mean, but through IT, but the way I like to speak about this is musical, because what is the song that this DAO is singing? A ton of different sounds. It's cacophony. And, you know, I can't listen to all of this stuff, but what I can think about, well, there's a specific melody in this particular domain that is played for this particular people that will, when they hear it, they'll dance to it. They'll want to buy that music. That's like well, I'm an oil man. I listen to country western. I kick my boots. I go in my truck and I do my oil man thing. That's just me. I'm not evil. I'm just an oil man.
Yeah.
But you know, but there's somebody who's you know, a street performer in Montreal who is totally listening to something different, and they want to hear something different. And each of us, in the 6 folks on this call, we have probably at least 7 or 8 kinds of music that we may like to listen to and want to hear. And what is the music that the ensembles within this group may create? Right. There's Tay has an ensemble. I think Jeremy, you've got an ensemble already that you're jamming with. You know, and I don't know quite as much about each of the rest of you, but we all have different music and a desire, like, who do I want to play with, and what is the song that I want to sing that I'm proud to sing, and who wants to hear it? And so, and translating that into what kind of impact, you know, do we wish to have on our species, you know, and our chances of survival. So I'm trying to figure it out for me, and I'm hearing, definitely, Jillian, one of the things I like to do with people is record these kinds of these riffs. You've got a riff and you've got a take, and Jeremy, you have that, and Mars and Dion, each of you have a take, and so maybe I'm going to be like a little power amplifier, you know, and help you sing your song and help others sing their songs. So cool.
I'm happy to go.
I like when you said that the power amplifier. One of my roles that I came to me was the creative force multiplier, because me on my own, I cannot do much, but I can be like a petrol to your fire. Like, I can make your project bigger. I see myself as connecting multiple dots and multiple experiences, and I'm actually hoping that among us there will be natural born leaders who will be just driven, who will be purposeful, who will be impactful, who will find a way to lead the project. And hopefully I also see myself becoming a leader at some point. I'm still learning, like, all these, I would say, cultural nuances of the online world, how to behave in the online spaces, when to raise voice, how to talk in a way which is that adds value rather than talks about my personal difficulties. and I hope that we will see each other soon. Did we agree what is the cadence of the meetings? Is it every week, every other week? What is the frequency?
It's once a month, isn't it?
This is a monthly cadence. There is a weekly also with the content working group in Telegram. Are all of you on the Telegram, or is anyone not? Okay. But there's the content working group has a weekly, then this is a monthly, and then who knows for whatever else happens. And I think that we are in the chaos of who knows what's happening right now. So I can't tell you what the cadences are, but if you follow your nose, smell for whatever, or listen for what you're passionate about, I'm sure you'll find the folks who are convening at a cadence that makes sense for you. So
Also, just like invite the women that you know who would be into it, please. Or let's get some more gender diversity. Go back to that.
Yes.
People of color and people of the global
Yes.
south and people of every single thing, because we need to have a more diverse point of views. Diversity is a competitive advantage. I said this 5 times, and I think its message is clear here.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm gonna go. Thanks, everybody.
See you.
Thank you.
Whew.
So much. So there's 3 things coming up on the calendar that I'd love to invite you guys to participate in. If you have energy and want to do some shit, I'm about, let's try and do some shit. So on April 22nd, Regents Unite, my squad, is inviting anybody who feels so motivated to gather together in a group of 2 or 3 or 20, whatever you feel like, and make some seed bombs. Seed bombs are super easy, very accessible. We've got a Telegram group. Just make some seed bombs, have some lunch, and talk about what you might want to do to regenerate the space and relationships that are in your local context. I will provide as much support as you can tolerate to your initiative and drive, if that's a new and a weird thing for you. Next on the docket.
Question. Seed bombs as in like a physical seeds of physical plants to do a grassroots movement in reality, yeah?
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
cool.
Yeah, real roots, real plants, real impact, # real value. So that's the 22nd of April. I'm booting up a masterclass at the end of this month for liberating structures, or specifically for the application of people that want to organize events. That's a much more high touch thing, but that's an available option. In the 26th and 27th of May, for anybody here on the European continent, we've got the Regions, 2nd edition of Regions Unite. If you want to see a really great example of what a very diverse space and wildly participatory space looks like, come to that. We had a great mix of folks across, in, out, and adjacent to Web3 around regeneration, whether that be the biosphere, community, personal healing, technologically, you name it. All shapes, colors, and sizes will show up. And in particular, perhaps the most relevant to this space is the Play Drive. The Play Drive, mark your calendars for the 5th of June. Lawrence, who I think is Noman on Telegram and in the forum, and I are organizing a Play Drive. It's like a 7-day unconference with a heavy emphasis on play and open source gaming. If we imagine the global brain that we're sort of like all trying to figure out a way to interface with, what our intention is to play into existence the open source game console and controllers, so to speak, that allow us to interface with that global brain. So that will be a riotous good time. We'll be playing some actual products into existence. That'll be held at the Commons Hub in Austria. like I said, the week of June 5th, I'll have a website up. Probably after I get off this call, I'll just do it, and then and that'll make life easy. So for those that have energy, that's the shit I'm up to. Anybody's welcome to come hang out. Anybody else?
I'm just receiving, opening my mouth to the fire hose of action that's happening right now, and just surfing on it. So I gotta check out Mars. Jeremy, very cool. Dion, Adam, your presence is valued and appreciated, and I gotta check out.
Yeah, let's make an effort to preserve the video. Like if there is some pop-up on your screen, make sure it's
saved in Kevin Nowaki's account.
That's great, because then AI can do the transcription, the links are preserved, there will be some value, because yes, here I really enjoyed this space. I really enjoyed listening to you and vibing with your energy. There was one moment of the awkward silence, but I was just enjoying it, looking at your faces. So that was good. I'm really just charged with good energy, and I hope to see you again.
Same. See you later.
Bye-bye.